this is Allison Myers. I'm following up about the job opening in your design department. No, I already submitted a resume. No, I understand. It's already been filled.
I see.
You enjoy your job?
This isn't really my job. I'm an architect. Just had setbacks. Come on, Neil. Are you Neil?
That's right.
That's not you.
If we could get moving. Yeah, I have it. It'll be inside a black bag. She is, but she'll be gone by the time I get there. You think it'd be possible to pull over?
We're almost there.
I'm afraid I'm gonna have to insist.
What can I do for you, officer?
Looking for a pair of earrings. Emily Jane. Last week she was stabbed 8 times.
It's a very nice bracelet you have on.
I feel like something really bad is going to happen.
What about you, little Miss Driver? What are you really about?
Let me ask you something. What's been the worst night of your life? I'm not that scary, am I?
Talk about, was the concept drawn from experiences doing like an Uber kind of thing, or how did you come up with this idea that it started with?
Yeah, so Adam Armstrong, one of the writers, actually drove for Lyft for a while.
Nice.
So I believe some of the stories were a little inspired by his experiences. But we actually, this was a project that we ended up kind of falling into a situation where we were able to make a film.
Nice.
And you know, I turned to Adam Armstrong and Marcus DeVivo and I said, guys, we need to have a script that we can do. Do we have anything that we could do for this budget? And they're like, so they're like, let us walk away. We'll come back in a week and we'll let you know what our ideas are.
Sure.
And they came back in 3 months and had the script, and it was fantastic.
When you guys got the pages, were you just blown away? I mean, obviously you don't know what you know until you know it.
Right.
So, I mean, at the beginning of it, when you're reading it, are you already intrigued by these characters, and how did your process work in terms of, you know, the dichotomy of what you're going to experience?
Sure. I think the thing that turned me on immediately was that there's just this great deal of moral ambiguity throughout the entire piece.
Yeah.
And I feel that the choices that these two characters are making seem to be fueled by a palpable desperation, which I think plays pretty well to what a lot of people in the country are going through right now. And so they just kind of sat like a shadow on everything, and that felt true to me and it felt honest to me. And then on top of that, I think it just plays as a really nice genre piece.
Yeah.
I love thrillers. I've always loved thrillers and horror films, and so I think just having the opportunity to lean in and dive into something like that was great.
Nice.
Yeah, and when I was reading it for the first time, you know, I'm reading the full script to see if it's something that I would be interested in doing. And I was with the story every turn of the page, like every twist. I was pulled in, and I felt like I was watching the movie, and I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
And I didn't see what was coming.
Awesome.
So that to me told me, okay, this is a project that I would definitely like to be working on.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know, and because it has such divisiveness and it has certain elements that have to be hit in certain points of the storyline, what did the actors bring to it that you didn't expect going into the production?
So much. I mean, you know, when we got the script, obviously, you know, it was for an indie film like this, it was fairly fully formed, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the special thing that both Michael and Lizzie brought to the table is just this absolute and full commitment to these characters. You know, the passenger is this creepy but really charming guy,
right?
And it was always really important to us that he kept that charm throughout. Like, we wanted people to like him and hate him at the same time.
Sure.
And I think that I think that Michael just coming to the table with that already in place, it just made the whole thing so easy. And then Lizzie, of course, I mean, Allison's character is so complicated. There's so much under the surface that we don't immediately see. And so with Lizzie, it was such a pleasure to work with her because we were able to choose little bits and pieces to give along the way to the viewer to have them understand better like what she's going through and what she has to deal with and how she has to get through this crazy night. So I think that both of these guys were just such a pleasure to work with, and I mean the whole cast was amazing, and they brought something special to each and every role.
And as part of developing that aesthetic too, I found it's a challenge just to lighting something, right?
Oh, yeah.
But you're in a car for 90% of this film. The lighting, the dark shadows that creep over. I mean, probably a lot of that was happy accident, natural lighting. But talk about how you designed that and how it played a pivotal role in this movie.
So I would say some of that was a happy accident. It's actually, I think that our cinematographer, Anthony Kuntz, just did the film looks like $1 million.
Yeah,
and we didn't spend $1 million.
It's the best shot. It's the best shot film I've seen at this festival.
Wow, I mean that's a huge compliment. Thank you so much. I mean, he really, we storyboarded probably about 60% of the film before we went in to shoot it, and Anthony was our second DP to come on board.
Nice.
And when he came on, I showed him a lot of the storyboards. We talked through a lot of the shots, and he's like, I really love to have these as conversation. But I think that a film of this scale, we're really going to have to get on set and see what we can do. And I was just like, I will throw away every storyboard we've made if it means that, this thing is going to look as good as you can make it look. And, he had this idea, this aesthetic that he didn't want to just set up the camera in front of the car and have us, rehearse and play scenes. He was like, okay, as we get deeper and deeper into the story, we're going to get the camera closer and closer to these characters, and we're going to change the viewpoint of the camera as our characters experience this story. I'm familiar with photography. I've shot things before myself, but the level of experience and depth that Anthony has that he brought to the table, I think, just made this film look so good, made these guys look good, made me look good. He really blew it out of the water.
And the interesting thing, as far as an acting standpoint goes, there is a level where you have to be confident, and you still have this element of fear going out throughout the entire thing. Talk about how you balance those basics.
I think that what we kind of learn about our passenger a little more than halfway through sets him up where what he says, his awareness of himself might not be so sharp. And so I think that we see him do things that maybe take us aback and turn us off, but then we see him make an apology for the thing that he just said because he recognizes after the fact that maybe what he did wasn't so friendly or generous or wholesome or warm. And so I think that seeing this guy kind of stumble through and trying to be a guy getting from point A to point B without making somebody else feel uncomfortable, and his how he's not so good at that was really interesting to me, because you're kind of trying to make a decision of what do I need from her, and how do I get it, and how do I get it without scaring her away, turning her off,
right, sure,
and getting what I need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I would say mapping out the intricacies of what is happening in each scene for Allison was one of my favorite parts of actually working on the movie. And every time that we were going into a new scene, Drew and I would have a little powwow, and we would say, okay, where is Allison at this moment? What is she feeling? What is she allowing to be seen? So what is she showing? What is she trying to play? And so those layers, make her a very complicated character to play as an actor, but also I think make the script that much more rich, because there is so much going on underneath, all subtext.
Sure.
I think one of the wonderful things about their performance in this movie, and speaking to your question, is just that it's a special film in that when you get through the story the first time, if you desire to go back and rewatch it, there's so many nuances to the performances that really speak to the fear, but also the confidence that these characters have, and I think it's a little bit of a different movie the second time that you watch it.
I probably agree. I haven't seen it a second time, but I have definitely thought about that.
Awesome.
I mean, for you as a director, this is a movement piece, but we're in a static situation, right? And so you're trying to keep it moving and flowing with the tensions and the angles, and we talked about the lighting and all that. But talk a little bit about the dialogue and how you kept it natural and kept it flowing. Was it a rigid script, or did you guys have to open it up for improv? Did that feel like this was kind of that make it more natural kind of idea? That's
a great question. Adam and Marcus are writers. They actually wrote the script very, very natural. There were there was stuff, like we talked about multiple times. Lizzie being like, "Do you know how many times we say stuff in this movie?" Can I cut some of those out? I was like, "Yes, of course you can." With the dialogue in particular, it was really, Adam and Marcus were generous enough to know that they were confident in the story that they wrote, and they said, we want these characters to feel real on screen. So if there are little things that you need to change in order to make these characters feel more true to life, please do so. And I thought that was just, it's something that shows their confidence in their own writing, but it also shows the confidence in the cast that we had put together. And I thought that was just an amazing thing coming from them.
Yeah. But as far as improving, from an actor standpoint, we didn't really improv.
Yeah.
We wanted to honor the script that they had written, so we...
Pretty word for word.
Yeah.
Pretty word for word. Once we had, it was a thing like, if it's a word or two that we're changing, but other than that, it was we never had to retool anything major at all. It was like good to go from the jump.
So from your standpoint in your process then, it's all about how you look and what you're looking at and the little nuances that you play with your hands and everything like that, right? That's where you got to improv probably a lot more than you thought.
And a lot of it is not necessarily about the words.
Yeah.
It's about what's going on underneath or what you want the other person to be feeling in that moment.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
How long this takes place over a night, right?
Yeah.
How long was the actual shoot? What did you guys go through in that process? Was this you had to shoot at certain times and do that?
Oh yeah, so this was the shoot itself was a bit of a struggle for everyone. We did, I think, 2 daytime shoots, 2 days during the day, like a normal work day, and the remainder of the shoot, which was for about a month, was all overnights. So these guys were actually wonderful because we wanted to keep our sleep schedule in the very screwed up 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And so on our days off, we would all end up getting up, calling each other, being like, "All right, where are you? Let's go get some food. Let's go get some drinks. It's going to be Sunday fun day throughout the night,
But through, not going to bed until 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
Because it actually served us so much better to keep the schedule.
Don't get sick.
It made going back to work the next day much easier since we didn't go back to a normal daytime schedule. So we were vampires for a month.
Yeah, it felt good.
Different, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that added to your performance, having that?
I think so. Just the mood in general and being in the place. I mean, there's so much. I think coming up in the theater, Lizzie and I both have big theater backgrounds, and so being on set, being on location, which you just don't get to do very often unless you're shooting film, it does so much of the work for you.
Yeah.
And it was a pleasure. I mean, you're responding to things that are really happening, and so it's just buoying your performance that much more. And all your job then is to just be present, be a generous partner, get what you need in the scene, and keep it moving. But all those other things were just bonuses, I think. And at night, there's a mood anyway, right?
Right.
So it's moody to begin with.
Yeah.
Which helped me.
Right.
A lot.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, have you guys seen the film already?
Yes.
Yes.
So you've seen the final cut and everything like that, and you've seen it probably a million times.
I've seen it too many times. I still love it. Yeah.
Well, my question is like when you see yourself up there and you see this film and you see what you've done and you've seen it over and over again, you constantly find the little nuances that nobody else can see. You know, the little mistakes or the little thing that you figure, oh, I should have held my look there a little bit longer, or I should have cut when I should have cut. But I don't want to know that from you. What I want to know from you guys is, what do you think you nailed?
That's a great question.
I think we nailed the twist.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah, I think that was going to be my answer as well.
Yeah.
That's what feels the most rewarding and the best when I watch it.
I would say that the thing that made me feel like we nailed the film in general was that we've done like a private screening for cast and crew, and just the fact that everyone who was involved in the project was proud of it.
Nice.
That made me feel like I did my job.
That's awesome.
I think the one thing that I feel like we nailed as a part of the storytelling process, you had mentioned earlier that this film needs the momentum, right?
Yeah.
It can have the feeling of a static film, but we needed to keep the energy throughout.
Yeah.
And I really felt like that's something that we nailed.
Yeah.
We were able to give the film this deliberate build until we get to the third act, and where everything explodes, right? And I think that for me, the twist of everything is fantastic, and I love that people, it's something new for them. It's fresh, but I think that the idea of us taking our time with things and then letting everything just get out of control it's really exciting to me that people are reacting well to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we had our first screening yesterday,
Yeah.
last night,
Yeah.
which was the first time that I've seen it on a big screen. That's the first time I've seen it with an audience, not just sitting at home on my computer. And the vocal reactions that people were having were my absolute favorite, and they made me
Nice.
smile
Yeah.
and made me so happy.
That's awesome.
So that is very rewarding.
Nice. Because there is a twist and there is a moment that everything shifts. Did you talk about that with the writers beforehand, and how did you approach that with the actors? Was there talk of where the actors can make that moment happen, and where you felt like in the script? I mean, you have to be very, very careful about these things, right? I mean, because if you do it at the wrong moment, it could just completely backfire, right?
Right.
So, and there is a couple subtleties that make that moment even more stronger, right?
Right.
I'm sure you talked about that with your cast and.
Yeah, so the Marcus DeVivo actually was the one who called Adam, and he said, okay, I've got it, and he pitched the twist to his co-writer Adam, and Adam loved it, and then they started working the story backwards from there. And so, for them, it was really about how can we, that deliberate build, how can we create this thing and put all the pieces in place, but do it in such a subtle way that it's believable, but that it's enjoyable to watch, so that you don't see it coming. And then as for working with Lizzie and Michael, it was, for me, it was really one of those things that's like, how can we engage these characters? How can we make them give up the pieces that we want the audience to see, to feel a certain way about these people as we continue through the film? And I think that aspect of the build was one of the things that we worked on a lot, and it was definitely something that we worked on, crafting the performances, the wonderful performances that these guys gave in the editing room. Was like, okay, this take, maybe I asked for too much, but this take was perfectly right on the line of
Nice.
what we need, so it became this really fine balance, both in working with these guys and in the post-production process.
Did you guys find that freeing, being able to play with that a little bit?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's be honest. That month that we were filming was a dream come true.
Yeah.
We were playing all month long.
Yeah.
It was just wonderful.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think too, just Drew, our fearless leader, however fast you may have felt on the inside, you kept such a cool and calm demeanor.
Yes.
You kept morale up, and I think I remember on our most, one of the nights where just everything was going wrong.
Yeah.
Nothing that we had planned was happening the way we'd planned it.
Hello, indie film.
I found myself starting to freak out a little bit because you're like, oh my God, all of the beats and shifts, everything is different. Our moments aren't landing. And Drew, by the end of the night, it ended up being my favorite night of the shoot, I think, because of what Drew was able to just keep everybody together and keep the team strong. And just alleviate fears that this was not going to be the night that we needed to have, which was probably the biggest learning curve of the shoot for me, was just like, don't freak out. It may not all be okay, but it may be okay. It may all be okay,
Well, in your case, that might be helpful,
right?
That you freaked out.
Right.
No, so that being said, you guys did this incredible 30-day night shoot, but you obviously you have a love for this film. So what do you love about indie film? What is it that you really cherish?
You see so many risks being taken. The strangeness sometimes. The fact, it's the same reason why I think horror, you can get away with so much in horror. It doesn't seem like studios keep such a close eye. They're like, yeah, go do your thing. It's not gonna win an Academy Award anyway. Toni Collette should have won Best Actress the year that she was in Hereditary, and I just, you know what I mean? Like, that will bother me forever. That she, you know what I mean? But to that point, it's like you can go to extremes, and people will, and they'll let you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really one for big blockbusters usually, because I find that the pace of indie film can, it can take its time. It can do whatever it wants in a certain way without necessarily worrying about the commercial, producing aspect. So I find myself drawn to indie films, smaller films, much more often. As far as working as an actress, I feel like because we had such a great month and because we had such a wonderful experience, I just want to make another one. I've been on TV sets, completely different ball game. Yeah. And I think the indie film production experience is so much more rewarding. So I'm so happy to know that and to have gotten to experience it in a feature with these guys.
Nice.
This was my first feature film, so although I don't feel like I can speak to bigger commercial projects, I think one of the things that was special about this project for me was that it felt like I was able to own it. I don't own it, but the creative behind it and the creative process and the choices that were being made were all things that thankfully my partners trusted me to make this and to bring it to the screen faithfully from what the writers wrote, and hopefully we at least break even, right? Hopefully we get distribution, but I think that that was one of the more exciting things for me about making a big independent project, was that I really had that creative control over the whole thing.
Nice.